Hi, I've decided to produce a series of videos on understanding biblical texts through a more ancient lens. What this means is understanding how biblical texts and all ancient texts were originally meant to be read. They were not written in the way that we write modern texts, and we shouldn't read them that way. We read them in a linear, literal sense, and they were not meant to be read like that. Ancient texts pose a difficult problem. Most of them were not written down initially, they were transmitted orally. So the information had to be condensed and encoded, and they had a number of methods of doing this. The stories operate on multiple levels. They're metaphorical, they have hidden coded meanings and other references that we just don't get today. For instance, many ancient cultures used a method called, in Hebrew, gematria. This is the process of assigning numerical values to letters. We treat those two things as entirely separate now, but they weren't in the ancient world. For every letter you could have a numerical value, so you could take a name and encode a number in it, or take a number and encode that in the name. According to the Jewish system of Kabbalah, this is used extensively throughout the Old Testament. It's also used extensively throughout the New Testament, where number values are encoded. And we find this probably most famously in Revelation, where we have 666, the number of the beast. Most people interpret this as the devil, but it doesn't say that anywhere. The text doesn't say Satan or the devil or even Lucifer. Says the beast. Many scholars over the ages have interpreted this to mean the Emperor Nero, because his name using gematria comes out as 666. The problem with this is that he's not of any importance to the development of Christianity, and reports of him being super evil are actually exaggerated. So who is the beast being referred to? Well, the beast isn't the only person to have a number. In Glastonbury in England, there is the ruins of an abbey, Glastonbury Abbey. This area is legendary for being a place that Joseph of Arimathea came after he had buried Christ, and he brought with him certain holy relics, one of those being the Holy Grail, the cup of the Last Supper, which sparked off all the Arthurian legends of King Arthur and his knights searching for the Holy Grail. In 1908, an archaeologist called Frederick Bligh Bond, pretty cool name, went to Glastonbury and did an archaeological study and survey of the site. What he discovered was that the abbey was laid out on a dual grid pattern. One of those grids was 74 by 9 inches. The other was 74 by 12 inches. These grid patterns, when multiplied out, give you two numbers. They give you 666 and 888. If we take the Hebrew name for Jesus, Yeshua, and we apply gematria to the name, we get the number 888. This is the number of Jesus. 666 is the number of the beast, and they're both present in the abbey. This caused some consternation when Bligh Bond released these figures, because having a grid pattern to the number of Jesus made perfect sense in an abbey, but the number 666 was disturbing. That's because by this time people had associated this number with the devil, which, as I've said, is probably not correct. Revelation does mention that 666 is the number of the beast and the number of a man. So why 666? The number 7 is one of the most powerful numbers in numerology. It stands for divine power and divine spiritual wisdom. So therefore, because man is like God in his image but falls short, we get the number 6. We see the number 7 appearing in many places in the ancient world. God makes the world in 6 days and then rests on the 7th, because the world is not perfect. That's why it's made in 6 days. So In general, you could see the number 6 as applying to man. It's approaching godlike divinity, the number 7, but doesn't quite make it. Interestingly, when we apply gematria to a Greek term, Hephraim, we actually get the number 666. In ancient Greek, the language of the New Testament and the language in which Revelation was written, then Hephraim means the subconscious, the lower mind, the base emotions. And I think this is what was meant by the beast. I don't think Revelation is referring to a fallen archangel who lives in a cave somewhere. I don't think that's what's meant by the beast. They would have referred to that directly. What's meant here is the source of all evil, the base emotions in human, greed, desire, anger, envy. This is the beast. So Revelation is not warning us of a time when the devil will do something. It's warning us of a time when people will be ruled by their base emotions and evil will run rampant across the world. As always, thank you for watching.